Will Social Security exist when I retire? You probably heard that Social Security has some problems. They're running into some issues where they are eventually not going to be able to pay all the benefits that they've promised. And many people have heard of this to some degree or another. And so we get the question, hey, will Social Security even exist when I retire? Are benefits going to get cut? Am I going to, halfway through my retirement, get my income cut in half? How is all this going to work? Will Social Security continue to exist in the way it is, or am I going to work my whole life and contribute to it and then have nothing to show for it? And so you may have heard that Social Security has its problems, and it does. It's got big problems, but luckily there are potential solutions as well. So we want to look at today, what is the problem with Social Security? What problems are it's having? Maybe you've never heard of them, so we want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what exactly the problem is. And then we want to look at some of the potential options for fixing this problem. And so first, as we're looking at the problem, right, first we need to understand how it works. And we're actually doing a whole workshop on how to maximize Social Security in retirement. And that's coming out a week from today. So this is coming out on October 13th. The workshop is on October 20th. So it's the third Thursday of every month we release a new workshop. It's live, 6 p.m. Central. Online. If you want to view it there, you can go to retirementmentorship.com/workshops. We also have links in the description of both podcasts and on YouTube here of where you can go to sign up for that and register for that. And if you listen to this after the fact, we will post it later on online so that you can view that. And so if you want to know more about Social Security and how to maximize it, how to get the most out of it, you'll want to do that because there's enough visuals in there in the workshop format that we had to do it visually. We can't just do it on the podcast. And so sign up for that. But we'll give you a quick rundown just of how Social Security works and what is causing this problem with it here. And so first, you probably know all these things, but let's just make sure, right? The way that Social Security works is you have taxes that are withheld from your check, and your employer matches those. It's called FICA, right? Or Social Security tax, payroll tax, and Social Security takes 6.2% of your income of anything that you earn, and your employer matches that as well. So really, 12.4% of your annual income is taken out for Social Security, and that's up to $147,000 in 2022. That number adjusts each year. But if you make less than that, then it's 6.2 and another 6.2 of all of your income. And that goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. And so we got, everyone who works in the U.S. is getting taxed at this rate. And the thing about Social Security tax, right, is it comes out regardless of how much you make. There's, you get federal and state tax deductions and credits, and there's a lot of people, in fact, most people in the U.S. pay no federal income tax at all, because of their credits and deductions and whatnot that they get. But everyone pays Social Security and Medicare tax. Everyone at the same rate up to $147,000 of income. And that all goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. And the income goes in. And on the backside, they are paying out those benefits to all the people who are on Social Security in that monthly income that gets paid out. And so you have taxes going on one side and Social Security benefits going out the other side. And these benefits are calculated based on how much you've earned over your lifetime. So on your highest 35 years of earnings, they'll calculate, hey, based on all this, here's what you'd get at your full retirement age. You can obviously, get less if you claim it earlier. You can get more if you claim it later. Again, we'll cover all that in the Maximizing Social Security workshop. But you might be thinking of, and so a lot of people think then that their Social Security taxes are like contributions, right? We're contributing to our Social Security like we contribute to 401ks, and you make all these contributions to it, and therefore after a certain amount of time, then that's how you get your benefits out. But it's not quite the way that it works. Really, the taxes that you are paying are funding the people who are currently receiving benefits, and by the time you get to retirement, it's all the other people who are younger than you who are still working and paying into the system that are funding your retirement. And so it's supposed to be everyone funds everyone else's retirements. And so even though your benefits are calculated off of what you earned and what you got taxed on, you're not actually saving for yourself. You're contributing for other people. And so there is some in the trust fund. Most of the benefits are paid through ongoing payroll taxes, right? Ongoing Social Security taxes. But there is a problem now, right? Because we had this big funding problem where, when the baby boomers were all working, they had no problem at all funding the retirements and the Social Security benefits of the silent generation, because that's why we call it the baby boomer generation, right? Because there's a huge boom of babies, and then they all grew up and they all started working and earning great incomes and paying a lot in Social Security taxes, and so there was no problem at all funding the generation before them. Well, now all those baby boomers are retiring, and you've probably heard like 10,000 a day are retiring, right? And we do a lot of work helping people retire and maximize their Social Security and all that in my financial planning firm. But the problem is that birth rates fell from there, right? And so while we had this huge, it was kind of a pyramid shape where we had smaller generations before and then larger and larger generations, then that kind of fell off. And so now there are less people paying into Social Security as there will be people taking money out. And so this trust fund is starting to go down. It's starting to get depleted. And, more is paid out each year than is taken in. And we have a problem, right? The Social Security Trust Fund will run out in 2037, necessitating a 24% drop in benefits for anyone who's currently receiving it. So in 2037, if we don't do anything, everyone who's on Social Security will get a quarter of their income just cut in half overnight. And that's going to happen. We are driving towards a cliff and we will go off the edge if we don't do something. And it's a big problem because Social Security is the bedrock of a lot of people's retirement. Either it's a majority of their income or it's a big base of that. And so to have a big cut in their benefits will be catastrophic for a lot of people. So we have this coming cliff, right? And you probably heard of the problems with Social Security, and you may have even read some catastrophizing articles or news reports about it. And so a lot of people really believe that Social Security is completely doomed, that the whole thing's going to fall apart, that we're going to be paying into the system forever, and it's all going to explode, and that we'll get nothing at the end. And it's not that bad. We can fix this problem. And here's how to think about it, I think. Right? Imagine that you were traveling in a car and you were traveling 60 miles an hour in a straight line, and wild animals are chasing you kind of behind and to the sides. And as long as you keep driving at 60 miles, you're staying ahead of them or whatever, but you can't stop, you can't slow down too much either. Otherwise you're going to be caught by these wild animals. And so you're driving in a straight line, 60 miles an hour, and 120 miles in front of you is the edge of the Grand Canyon. So in 2 hours, it's kind of like one of those old math problems that you used to do. Susie is traveling at 60 miles an hour north, and Bobby is traveling at 40 miles an hour south, and at what time will they crash into each? So it's one of those almost, right? And so in 2 hours, we're going to careen off the edge of the Grand Canyon and plummet to our deaths, right? And that's what people are screaming about with Social Security. Hey, in 2 hours, this whole thing is going to blow up. 2037, it's all going to be gone. That's not that far. It's 15 years. Right? And so a lot of people are still going to be on Social Security in 15 years. A lot of people were counting on Social Security 15 years from now. And we're going to die. But if you think about it, right, only if we do nothing. And there's a lot of things we can do between now and careening off that cliff that will slow that down and or fix the problem. Right? And so maybe one of the solutions is to slow down. Because if we slow down to 40 miles an hour, maybe at 40 miles an hour, it's still enough to outpace the wild animals that are chasing us. We can't completely stop, but if we reduce it to 40 miles an hour, well, then how long does it take at 40 miles an hour to go 120 miles? Well, it takes 3 hours. So it gave us another hour to fix the problem, kicks the can down the road a little bit. What if we adjusted the angle at which we were going? We can't do a hard right turn because there's animals on the right side that will get us, so on the left side, but maybe we can pivot 10, 15, 20 degrees. And if we do that, it lengthens the distance between when we go over the edge of that Grand Canyon. And again, it will give us more time before we plummet to our deaths. And so in the same way that there are things that we can do to slow down the otherwise inevitable demise of Social Security. And I'm kind of using that hyperbolically, right? It's not a demise. Again, we're looking at a cut in benefits, not the whole thing being destroyed. But for a lot of people, a 25% cut is a big deal. So we want to look at what are some options for fixing Social Security. We've got time, but not a lot of time. What can we do in the meantime to do that? And part of the thing is, right, we won't actually take any of these options for a while because we have bigger problems right now. right? We still have 2 hours before we go over that cliff, and we've got, Russia and inflation and elections and all these other problems right now. And so politically, 15 years is a long time. And until it becomes a bigger problem, we probably won't address it. But in the meantime, here are the options that we do have for fixing this problem. Number one, we could reduce benefits. We could reduce benefits for anyone who's currently receiving Social Security or who will in the future. Either, we can wait and do nothing, and then we will have to reduce benefits by 24% in 2037, right? That's the sustainable number. They do this there's this committee, the Security Board of Trustees, Social Security Board of Trustees, that does this analysis, and they update it every year and say, hey, what do we need to do to fix this? And right now it's currently, in 2037, we'll have to do a 24% cut across the board on everyone's benefits. And we could do that. We could wait until then, or if we do it sooner, if we did it now, immediately, it would only be a 13% cut. And the longer we wait to do this, the deeper that we're going to have to cut people's benefits to be able to sustain those benefit payouts. And so it might be one of those things where, hey, if we do it earlier, it won't be as painful. But if we wait until later, it's going to be very painful. And so that's one option, right? We can reduce benefits, not do away with them, not cancel them, none of those. We can just reduce them. Personally, I don't think this is going to happen, right? This is an option, but I don't think it's going to happen. And for one reason, right? Which is that retirees vote, and they vote more than younger people. And they're not going to vote for anyone whose solution is to cut their income that they've worked their whole lives to, contribute to and that they've counted on. And so anyone whose platform is, hey, I'm going to fix Social Security by cutting, retirees' benefits, they're not going to get any votes. Anyone who eventually, right, when this problem becomes near enough and big enough, there will be multiple people who will run on a platform like, hey, we're going to fix Social Security by any other means other than cutting benefits. And they'll get enough retirees and near retirees to vote for them and vote for some other option, right? It's just no one's going to win an election on a campaign of cutting benefits. It is an option, and I think everyone is trying to make that not the option we go with. So the next option, number two, is to increase Social Security taxes. All right, that Social Security Board of Trustees in their latest audit said that if we immediately increase the total Social Security tax from 12.4 to 14.4, right? So it's both sides. So it'd be 1% each, 1% more from your paycheck, and your employer would have to kick up 1% more as well to be able to pay for those. If we did that, a 1% higher Social Security tax for you, then that would be enough to pay for all scheduled Social Security benefits for the next 75 years, right? So that would that wouldn't fix it, right? Only for the next 75, and then eventually it's going to become a problem down the road, thereabouts. But it would kick the can way down the road. And no one who's currently receiving Social Security benefits is going to be around 75 years from now. And most people who are currently working and contributing to Social Security won't be around 75 years from now. And so that would be a way that basically locks it in and locks in everyone's benefits for anyone who's currently contributing to or living on Social Security. So not a perfect fix, but it would really, really help pay for that. Now this is unpopular, of course, because it's more taxes, and nobody likes more taxes. But the thought goes behind that people would adjust, right? It's a 1% dip in your income. So if your take-home pay is $2,000, then you're going to have, about $20 subtracted from your income. And if they say, well, hey, if you can live on $2,000, then you can certainly live on $1,980, right? Or if your take-home pay is $4,000, then you're going to lose $40 per month or per paycheck or whatever. And so people say that people can and will adjust to that. The other thing that they've proposed with this, increase in Social Security tax is like a phase-in, right? You already pay 6.2% of your income. And so they say, hey, if we ratchet it up to 1% over a 5-year period, 0.2% per year, like no one's going to notice, especially when you have a slightly variable check going from 6.2 to 6.4%. Like you're just not going to notice that. And so they say, hey, we can raise this slightly. It wouldn't be a huge impact on people, and then we can again temporarily fix this problem for 75 years. So that's another option that would again probably have the most impact on increasing the longevity of this program. The next one, number 3, is to eliminate the taxable wage base. So currently, one only pays Social Security tax on the first $147,000 of annual income. And that's for each person, not for a household, right? So you personally, you pay your own Social Security taxes, federal income tax, state income tax, that's on the household. So if you're married and you married filing jointly, and that's how you file, you're taxed as a household. But with Social Security taxes, they're for an individual. So anyone in 2022, you're taxed only up to $147,000. And if you make more than that, anything beyond that, you don't pay that 6.2%, and neither does your employer. Or if you're self-employed, you don't pay that full 12.4 anymore. And that number adjusts annually, and that's just what it is for 2022. So this number, that 147,000, is called the taxable wage base. And the way that that's calculated, that when we calculate benefits, that the first $74,000 of income that you pay Social Security taxes have a bigger benefit, increase your future benefit more than the second half of your income, than the last $73,000 that add up to that 147. Only 15% of that second half, that next $73,000, actually goes towards building your benefit. And so that's why they cut it off. But the thought goes that, hey, if we just get rid of that wage base, that upper ceiling limit, then people will just pay taxes on no matter how much income they make. And they're only going to get credited 15%. So it's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to immediately increase the flows into the trust fund, because everyone making over 147 is now going to be paying 6.2% on anything more than that. Plus from the employer, it's 12.4% of all income that's currently above $147,000. But it wouldn't affect the current payouts, right? It would immediately increase the income into the fund, but everyone who's currently on Social Security, they're getting their Social Security again based on what they contributed. And so since they were capped before, if they were or weren't, it doesn't matter. Before, their benefits have already been calculated. So immediate inflows in, more inflows in, nothing extra going out, which would help build up the fund more and, prolong the longevity. Eventually those people would start collecting, but they wouldn't start collecting as much compared to what they were putting in, because again, it's not credited as highly at that extra income. Again, we covered a little bit this more. It's easier to explain on video, which we do in the workshop. To make sure that you sign up for that or go watch that after it comes out. So that's one way that would allow it to go on. So again, we've got reduced benefits, we've got increased Social Security tax, we've got eliminate the taxable wage base, and another one would be to delay full retirement age. Again, right? They already did that. So full retirement age is the age that you can calculate your full Social Security benefit as calculated by all your income. And it's currently, again, it's 67 for anyone born after 1960 or beyond. It used to be 65, which is the same age that you can get Medicare, right? So when they first put all this stuff into law, you would get Medicare and Social Security at age 65. And then they ran into funding problems because people were living longer. And so they kicked it out to 66 and then again to 67. And they had phase out periods for both of those. So you may be listening to this, and if you're in your 60s already, your mid 60s, your Social Security, your full retirement age is like 68 and or 66 and 8 months or 66 and 10 months or something like that, depending on that phase out year that you had. So they could do that again, right? They could kick it out to age 68 or age 69 and make that the full retirement age. And it wouldn't make you necessarily have to work longer to get it, but of course, every year that you take it before your full retirement age, you get a reduction in your benefits. And so it's a way to reduce benefits for future people without really reducing their benefits. It's a nuance, but they did it once before, and so they could always do that again. Part of the problem with that, though, is while they originally increased it because people were living longer, people aren't necessarily living longer anymore. The problem is that the birth rate fell, right? That we don't have as many people being born and being able to contribute to it as there used to be with the baby boomers. So it wouldn't solve the problem as much as maybe it would hurt people having to work that much longer to do it. But that is an option to delay benefits. And then lastly, you could do any of the above, any or all of the above, portions of any or all of the above, right? We could increase the full retirement age by just 1 year, just to 68, and increase the Social Security tax by 0.5% only, not a whole percent, and reduce current people's benefits by 5% instead of 24, right? Any combination of all those things would all help. Some are calculated to completely solve it or kick it way out, right? solve it for the next 75 years, the next 100 years. Some would just kick the can out another 20, 30 years and let the next generation figure it out. And that's kind of how we do things, right? We wait until it becomes a really big problem, and then we kick the can down the road and let our kids figure it out. Not the best. It's just usually what happens. So we come back to, will Social Security exist when I retire? And the answer is yes, right? The Social Security train is too big, it's too heavy, it's going too fast, and it's been going for too long to cancel it. We can't unwind it. We can't dissolve Social Security. Can't do that. There's too many people depending on it and who are counting on it in the future to be able to just get rid of the program, right? And whether or not it should be privatized, any of those things, that's way beyond the scope of this episode. But it is going, and people will get it. And if you've been saving into it, if you're in your 40s and 50s, I think a lot of those people even are wondering how much of it they're going to get. Like, you're going to get it, right? You've been paying into it. You'll continue to pay into it, and you will get it. Thing is that it either will be reduced or you'll end up paying more for it. Right? One of those two things is going to happen unless you will pass away and no longer need Social Security before 2037. Everyone else, we're either going to get our benefits reduced a tiny bit compared to how they're calculated now, or we're going to end up paying a little bit more in Social Security taxes in order to bolster this thing. And so, yes, like for all the people that are worried about there being no Social Security at all, that the benefits are going to get cut in half, again, a 24% drop in benefits will solve this problem for 75 years. So they don't need to go to, and nobody listening to this is going to see a 50% drop in benefits, right? That's just not going to happen. So rest assured, you will get something, but we're just going to have to make some changes. And again, we're getting close. We got time, but we are getting closer and closer to that cliff, and we will have to make changes, and those changes will be short-term painful in order to keep this thing going. But they will need to be done. So for more on Social Security, again, participate in our workshop, right? Go to retirementmentorship.com/workshops. You can sign up for the Maximizing Social Security workshop, which again is on October 20th. If you're a Retire member, you'll get access to the workbook. And you can sign up again for that for free, and that'll help you just go through it a little bit better, take some good notes, have something that you can take home with you afterwards. So really encourage you to do that. And Social Security is a big deal. When you claim it, it might be one of the biggest retirement decisions you make, because once you pull that lever, you can't undo that. You're stuck with whatever choice you had. You used to be able to file and suspend and kind of do some of these undo things. Those are all gone. Once you claim, you've claimed, and there's nothing else you can do about it. So it's really important to know about Social Security, about your options, about ways to claim it. And so go register or go find that workshop and participate in that. Hope this has been helpful, and yes, you will get Social Security benefits. If you enjoyed that, you would love being part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and it has a host of benefits, all for free. For example, you can always buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon. But if you join us at Retire Membership, we will send you either a hard copy or paperback for free, provide the ebook and the audiobook so that you can listen to it if you don't have time to read it. In addition to that, we'll also provide you with a bunch of content that you can't get anywhere else. For example, we have our quarterly Retire Mentorship magazine, which comes out quarterly and has no ads whatsoever. It's just timely content to help you stay the course. We also have workbooks for our free online workshop to help you get the most out of those, flowcharts to help you make better decisions, and a weekly email to provide timely content that you can unsubscribe from at any time. We never ask for any payment information, and we never share your information with anyone else. We just want to provide timely content and help you stay the course to retire successfully and stay successfully retired. There's no reason to wait, so join us now at retiremembership.com, where you can click in the link in the description and it'll go right there. We can't wait to see you in the community. Cheers. This podcast is educational only and is not investment, tax, or legal advice.